All right, so thanks for joining us, everybody. This is Msgr Deutsch from St. Pat's, and we have a special guest with us today. His name is David Billings. He's a parishioner. He's 12 years old, and he's done a really remarkable thing that I just thought would be really interesting for you to hear about and enjoyable. And so David and we're going to talk to you about his pilgrimage throughout the Diocese of Rockford. In 1 year, he visited every church in the diocese. That's a remarkable achievement. You know, I'm a priest. I've been a priest for 26 years, and I haven't been to all the churches in this diocese. And I would imagine that there's probably not many priests in the diocese that have been to every church. Maybe one or two of the older guys, but that's about it. So what he's done is remarkable, and I thought we could just maybe we'll have a little conversation. So David, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Monsignor.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm 12 years old. I'm going into 8th grade this fall, and I've been at St. Pat's my whole life, and it's a great parish. Thank you for all that you guys do here at the parish. And I'm a huge Cubs fan. I love baseball,
Hey.
And that's my thing. I love baseball. So
there you go. Do you play baseball?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, actually, my season just started this past Monday. So
were you able to actually play, or is it all virtual?
No, we were actually able to play and go on the field, but we had to split it up. So half the team was there the first hour, the other half was there the second hour.
What position do you play?
In my league, we rotate, but my favorite position is second base.
Nice one. So you'll be sort of like I forgot his name already. Who's my favorite guy? Chris Bryant, right? You'll be like that guy, or is it third base? Who's at second base? Javi?
No, Javi's at short.
Okay. Who's at second base?
They usually rotate, but I think sometimes it's
Zobrist, yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's Zobrist, sometimes it's Almora, sometimes it's Garatini. They really rotate with second.
Who's your favorite guy? Who's your favorite player on the Cubs?
Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, he's great, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like a kid out there playing, but he's a gentleman, isn't he? He's a really polite guy. Nice one. He's a good player. Yeah, I like all of them. They're great guys. So love that team, and it'll be great to get started with baseball. Hopefully they'll get something in this year. But in the meantime, you're a member of St. Pat's. You love to play baseball. You love to visit churches. What's so appealing to you? What made you want to do that?
So yeah, what made me really want to do it was just the knowing that, me and my dad were out in Woodstock one day, and I remembered that there were some churches out there, St. Mary's and Resurrection. And before I wanted to visit all the churches, I actually had just liked visiting churches here and there. So if we were in, on vacation or whatever, seeing a church here and there off the highway or whatever, because I really like the architecture of all the churches, and I really like the older churches a lot. The Diocese of Rockford is filled with old churches. There's very few new ones in the diocese, maybe like 4 or 5, but most of them are very old churches. And so I think really what just made me want to do it was all the different types of architecture of the church, and meeting different people and meeting the different priests around the diocese.
Nice. That's great, because I saw some of your Facebook stuff, and usually when you went to visit it, you always got a chance to visit with the pastor or one of the priests there. So that was pretty cool. So tell us a little bit. So you must know a lot about the diocese, huh? So when did the diocese get started?
So yeah, the Diocese of Rockford got started on September 23rd of 1908, and its first bishop was Bishop Peter James Muldoon, and the Diocese of Rockford has actually had 9 bishops since that point, with Bishop Molloy being the 9th.
Mm-hmm. And so how many of those bishops were Irish? I think all of them.
Yeah.
They've been all Irish bishops. What is that all about? No German bishops. That's not fair. Yeah, it's funny because I did an independent study was in seminary, David, and on one of in the class that I did an independent study for I made it up. It was history of the Diocese of Rockford, and this used to be part of Chicago. The Diocese of Rockford, the whole northern Illinois was the Archdiocese of Chicago, and then back in the day, to make it smaller, to make it more manageable, they split off Rockford from Chicago, and they basically said, you got to pick whether or not you stayed in Chicago or went to the new diocese. A lot of the guys wanted to come out here, and a lot of the priests back then were Irish. So it was just that's why they made the first bishop an Irish bishop, because there were so many Irish priests in Chicago, and there were going to be so many Irish priests that were going to be the new priests in the Diocese of Rockford. So interesting little fact. And what was the first parish that you visited through all this?
Yeah, so the first church I visited obviously was St. Pat's because it's my parish, but
Yeah.
the official church that I actually visited on my journey was St. Mary's in Woodstock.
And that's quite a parish, isn't it? It's a beautiful old church, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I prefer myself personally, I prefer the older architecture, the Gothic style, lots of stained glass and high altars and high ceilings and statues and beautiful art. I prefer that, huh?
Yeah.
And it seems like that's kind of your preference as well. Tell me what your like. You get up early in the morning. You just visit one church. You visit a number of churches. How did you map it out? How'd you plan it?
So yeah, when I was visiting the diocese, we would usually, so Tom and Julie Rasmussen, I don't know if you know them, they're
Yeah.
parishioners. Yeah, part of the Rasmussen team. But Mr. Rasmussen would take me usually to one church a week. He'd usually take me to daily mass at one church. And we usually just pick one. We started off with the close ones, the ones that were about 45 minutes to an hour, hour and a half away. And then after that, usually the farther ones we would do like around Thanksgiving, me and my family did a trip out to like East Dubuque where we saw all the churches out there. So we saw Youth, Menominee, Elizabeth, Galena, all those churches out there because there's like 12 or 13. So we saw all those over the course of like 2 days. And all the close ones, we just kind of did like one church daily mass. So
Nice.
there really was no plan to it all. It was more just kind of start with the close ones and work your way out. So,
What was the most churches you visited in one day?
10, I think. 10.
Yeah, that's quite a few. Yeah. What you were in Elizabeth? That's an interesting church. If you stand up on the side of the church or towards the back, it's got the prettiest view of any church in the diocese. It looks out over the rolling hills going west towards Galena. It's really something.
Yeah, it really.
Yeah, you like that. What was the biggest church you saw?
So the biggest church is St. Pat's. That's the biggest church I saw because we're the biggest church in the diocese. But besides that, it would have been St. Mary's in Huntley.
Yeah, I was gonna say St. Mary's is pretty big too. Yeah, I like that because they have some beautiful statuary there, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, St. Mary's in Huntley, and it's brand new, and they made it it's a huge new church, but they tried to make it look traditional, which I thought was really good. What's the smallest church?
So the smallest church by number of people is St. Flennin in Harmon. They have 33 registered families. And the smallest by building is Holy Spirit Mission in Roscoe. It's actually the only church in the diocese that's considered a mission, and it's quite small. So.
Yeah, yeah. Well, David, they call St. Pat's here in St. Charles, the new church on Crane Road, they call it the Mission Church. Because yes, they call it the Mission Church because St. Pat's downtown is the original, and because we decided to maintain both sites, and it's the same parish, one of them has to be the mission. And so St. Pat's Crane Road, even though it's like 4 or 5 times bigger, is considered the mission church for the original St. Pat's. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. Yeah. Which church do you prefer at St. Pat's, the downtown church or the Crane Road church?
I'd have to say the downtown because it's older and it's just I feel like a lot more beautiful down there.
Oh yeah, it's got that traditional aspect. It's certainly it's more intimate. It's smaller. Most of our weddings take place there because the brides love that small, intimate feel. The acoustics are amazing, and Msgr Knox did an amazing job renovating it. So it's really something. Yeah. What was your least favorite church?
I don't have one because.
Good answer. You are so smart. Good answer.
Yeah. I don't.
Oh boy, you're going to be a bishop. Excellent answer. So the prettiest church in this diocese? You say one of them you love Woodstock. We mentioned Elizabeth. You saw Amboy. Did you see St. Peter's and Amboy?
St. Patrick's, yeah, I saw
St. Patrick's and Amboy.
Yeah, one of my favorites. I really like that church because it's like a hidden gem in the middle of cornfield.
Oh, right there in the middle of nowhere is this amazing place. Yeah.
I also like St. John the Baptist in Johnsburg. I don't know if you've
ever yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, old school, that one. Very high Gothic. Lots of windows, statuary. That's what I remember. Yeah. Have you seen the new St. Peter's in Geneva?
I have not. I've seen photos, but I haven't actually been there yet.
Father Bachland has done the most amazing renovation there. The ceiling is like the heavens. It's dark, deep blue with stars. It's just extraordinary. I called him the other day just to tell him how jealous I was because it's so pretty. He did such an amazing job. So what's the newest church in the diocese?
So the newest church in the diocese would be St. Catherine Drexel in Sugar Grove. It was actually founded in 2008, but the building wasn't actually built till 2012. And when you go to the church, there's actually a cornerstone on the side of the church that says St. Anthony Chapel, dedicated in 2012, because the inside of the church is actually a chapel, and it's actually St. Anthony Chapel, but the parish is just called St. Catherine Drexel. And the reason that it's a chapel is because when they built it, there weren't a lot of people in Sugar Grove, and then there were more people starting to come into Sugar Grove, and so they actually had expansion plans for that parish. But when the numbers started to go down, those expansion plans never went into action.
And the nice thing is that they have enough land out there. If Sugar Grove ever explodes in growth, which it's very possible it will, and that church becomes too small, then it'll revert back to they'll build a bigger church called St. Catherine, and St. Anthony will be like a daily mass chapel, funeral, wedding chapel. Yeah, so you're right about that. Interesting concept. That's how they'll do it. And in a lot of the parishes still have schools. Some of the old schools. One of my favorite parishes is Dixon. I was pastor out there for 18 months. It was my first pastorate. In 1999, 2000, I was out there for 18 months. And I like it because my uncle, Father I, used to be the pastor there when he was a young priest. And that parish has a school attached. It's the only parish school in the diocese that's got a different name than the parish. So it's St. Patrick Parish, St. Mary's School, because my uncle, when he wanted to build a school, he did a novena to Our Lady and said, Mary, if you give me the money to build this school, I will name it after you. And so he got the money for the school, which is still there, still operating. Father Keith Romkey's the pastor out there right now. And he named it St. Mary. And so it's St. Patrick Parish, St. Mary. That's one of the prettiest churches in the diocese in Dixon.
Yeah.
I love that place. And I'm sentimental about it because it's, it's my first parish as a pastor. So, and so after going through all that, after seeing all the churches, what kind of feeling or idea does that leave you about the church itself, the Catholic Church, or maybe the church in Rockford? Has it helped you form opinions or ideas?
Well, it really helped me understand, like, architecture can really bring you closer to God, and like I feel like the older churches, like the more beautiful the church is, like I just feel closer to God when you're in the church. And another thing that I really liked about visiting the diocese was getting to know all the priests and getting to know that, some of the priests have 3 churches that they tend to. And with me considering the call to the priesthood, it helped me know that we need more priests to fill up those other churches.
Yeah. That's very true. So good for you. Good for you. We'll pray for your discernment, your vocation, whatever the Lord is calling you to, that you do that. Because no matter what the Lord calls us to, if we do what He asks us to do, we'll be happy. Huh? And you're right about architecture. The whole idea of let's say the traditional style church is that it was sort of like going into heaven. And so when we built more modern churches, we kind of lost that idea of being drawn into the heavenly realms and with the angels and saints. And so when you go into an old church with lots of art and architecture, and even the architecture, the symmetry and the proportions all give one. It affects you internally, psychologically, spiritually. You have this perception through architecture of order, of beauty, of truth, and those are all attributes of God. So building beautiful traditional style churches isn't just a throwaway. There's actually something spiritually and morally and psychologically that it stirs something in us to be closer to the Lord. So great perception. I appreciate that, David. You're awesome. So it's been great visiting with you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you coming on so that people in the diocese, a lot of them, even though you were in the observer, a lot of people might not know that this is something that you've done, and it might even spur some people to want to go and visit some of their own churches. Huh?
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and it's something you got to share with your family, and now you're sharing it with us. So thanks so much, David, for your time with us today, and have a great rest of your day. And again, we'll be praying for your discernment for the priesthood and for whatever the Lord's calling you to. All right. God bless you, David, and folks. Thanks so much for joining us for our time today. God bless you. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.